I'm a nerd. Yes, I admit it, I'm a total nerd. And nothing makes me more nerdy than talking about Metroid. You're probably like, didn't you just say that about Zelda? Well, that was a lie because I want to go into the history of my personal favorite video game series ever, Metroid. In this series, I will go over everything from the original NES Metroid to the much awaited Other M game that's coming out on August 31st of this year. So let me take you on the mystery and the epicness that is Metroid. After Nintendo and its very popular Famicom system was released, they had many solid games under its belt, such as Donkey Kong, Super Mario Bros., and The Legend of Zelda, for instance. The only main thing that seemed to be missing from the epic library was an action sci-fi game. What we got was the platforming of Mario Bros., the gunplay from Contra, The Legend of Zelda's ability enhancing, all mixed into one action sci-fi game, with a little bit of a unique twist on it. And that game was called Metroid. Before I give you the overview of the first game, I want to give you the history of the character, Samus Aran, who is the main character in all the Metroid games. When Samus was a child, her parents were killed by Ridley, one of the most recurring video game enemies ever next to Bowser from Super Mario Bros. After Samus's parents' death, Samus was raised by the Chozo, a now dead race who equipped her with a crazy awesome power suit, which made her the go-to girl for missions on dangerous planets with crazy objectives. And that's how we met our bounty hunter in the first Metroid game. In the game, she was sent on a very important mission to Zebes to eradicate the space pirate leader, the Mother Brain, and to eradicate all the dangerous Metroid organisms on the planet. Metroids, as you can guess, are a very important enemy in the Metroid games, which are created by the Chozo, and they are used as a bioweapon by the space pirates. Metroids would appear in every Metroid game except for Metroid Prime Hunters. The original Metroid was released on August 6, 1986 for the Famicom Disk System in Japan, much like the Legend of Zelda game. And then it was released on the Nintendo Entertainment System 1 year later, and it was produced by Gunpei Yokoi, who would later become the creator of the Game Boy. The game was a much darker adventure than Mario and Zelda, and it almost seemed like an unintentional homage to Ridley Scott's Alien movie. The game was not linear at all and required players to do a lot of exploration if they wanted to beat the game. You had to dive deep in underground chambers, uncover items, beat bosses, find energy tanks, and missile expansions, so the game may seem a little overwhelming at first, but the massiveness and the epicness kept gamers coming back for more. This game was also one of the first games to introduce backtracking and moving the screen left. This may seem like a commonplace in today's video games, but at its time, it was very original. Also, Metroid had one of the best atmospheres to be performed on an 8-bit console, with its detailed sprites, creepy monsters, and almost claustrophobic chambers really made you feel alone. There were a lot of cool items, such as the morph ball that made you somehow collapse into a ball to make you fit in tight areas. Along with the morph ball, you had new suits, new missiles, and new beams that would make it very interesting to continue playing the game. When you got to the final boss and killed the Mother Brain, instead of a victory message, you were left with a surprise in the case of a timer. You had a limited amount of time to escape the planet, and this move was very reminiscent to the action movies of its time, but it was also very new to video games. After the escape, you also had a new surprise. You get a new mission complete screen depending on how long it took you to defeat the game. If you beat it fast enough, you would find out that Samus was not a robot, not an android, not a guy in a suit, but actually a woman in a suit. This was a shocking discovery because this was a time where all women in video games were princesses needing saving. Samus would be the first female hero in video games for the most part, leaving it open for characters such as Lara Croft. Metroid also paved the way for gamers to try running through the game as fast as physically possible, which is now known as speedrunning today. Metroid is a very unique and exciting adventure for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and fans wanted another epic Metroid game. But sadly, the second installment wouldn't come for another 5 years. But as soon as the Game Boy was made, the R&D1 team was commissioned for another Metroid adventure, but this time in a monochromatic color scheme. Metroid 2: Return of Samus was developed by Intelligent Systems and released on the Game Boy on August 26, 1991. And much like James Cameron's Aliens, it took Samus back to the planet that started it all, SR-388. SR-388 was the Metroid homeworld. In this version, there were a lot of new Metroids to look out for, like Alpha, Zeta, Gamma, Omega, and the Queen Metroid. At the end of Metroid 2, instead of racing back at your ship, you find a Metroid egg that hatches, and Samus decides to spare the little Metroid baby and take it back to her ship to later be examined by the Galactic Federation. And the game came to a close. Metroid 2 wasn't as well received as its predecessor, but it was still an important chapter in Samus's epic saga. It also featured Metroid exploration as always, and an epic story that fans loved. Join us next part where we talk about debatably the best 16-bit outing ever, Super Metroid.